Most gardeners completely waste June. They wait, they second guess, they spend the entire month Googling, is it too late to plant? And by August, they're standing in front of an empty raised bed wondering where the summer went. Here's the thing though, June isn't the end of planting season. It's actually one of the most powerful windows of the entire year. And the gardeners who know that, their beds are overflowing while everyone else is still making plans. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 vegetables that are practically begging to go in the ground right now in June. Full growing guides for each one. Soil, watering, spacing, the mistakes that'll kill your harvest before it starts. All of it. And I'm saving one for near the end that most people completely overlook, and it might just be the easiest, most rewarding thing you plant all summer. Stay with me. Number 1. Okra. All right, let's kick things off with a vegetable that absolutely thrives in June, and that is okra. Now, if you have never grown okra before, June is honestly your perfect starting month. This plant is a heat lover through and through. It practically begs for warm soil and long sunny days, which is exactly what we've got right now. Try planting it in cold soil back in April, and it'll just sit there looking at you with absolutely nothing to show for it. But plant it now, in June? Watch out. This thing grows fast. Okra is a member of the hibiscus family, and honestly, once it blooms, you'll understand why. The flowers are absolutely gorgeous, creamy yellow with a dark purple center. It's one of those plants that earns its place in the garden just on looks alone, and then it goes ahead and gives you food on top of that. Pretty good deal. Here's how to get it started. Okra doesn't love having its roots disturbed, so direct sowing right into your garden bed is the way to go. Plant your seeds about ½ an inch deep and space them roughly 12 inches apart. Before you drop those seeds in, here's a little trick. Soak them overnight in water, just 12 hours or so. It softens that hard seed coat and can really speed up germination. You should start seeing little sprouts poking through in about 5 to 10 days. Okra needs full sun. We're talking at least 6 to 8 hours a day, and it really does appreciate rich, well-drained soil. If you've got heavy clay, work in some compost before planting. It'll thank you for it. Now here's the one thing that trips up most first-time okra growers: harvesting. You've got to stay on top of it. Those pods go from perfectly tender to tough and woody in just a matter of days. Harvest when they're about 3 to 4 inches long, and check your plants every single day once they start producing. The more you pick, the more they produce. It's one of summer's great gardening rewards. Number 2. Baby greens. Next up is one that I am genuinely excited to talk about because it is one of the fastest, easiest, most satisfying things you can grow in a home garden, and that is baby greens. Now you might be thinking, isn't June too hot for greens? And yes, it is true that mature lettuce can bolt when the mercury climbs, but baby greens are a different story. We're talking about harvesting them young and tender before the heat even has a chance to affect them. The trick is choosing the right varieties and being a little strategic about where you plant them. For June planting, look for heat-tolerant greens like oak leaf lettuce, Lolo Rosso, arugula, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, mustard greens, and mixed mesclun blends. These varieties have been selected or naturally bred to handle a little warmth, and when you harvest them small, at just 2 to 3 inches tall, they're absolutely delicious, sweet, tender, and nothing like what you get from a plastic bag at the grocery store. Scatter sow your seeds thickly in a tray, a raised bed, or even a wide container. You do not need to fuss over spacing, just broadcast the seeds, cover lightly with a 1/4 inch of soil, and water gently. Keep the soil consistently moist, and you will see germination in as little as 3 to 5 days. The real magic of baby greens is called the cut and come again method. Once your greens reach about 3 inches tall, snip them just above the soil line. Leave those little root systems in place. Within 10 to 14 days, you'll have another fresh harvest coming up. Some gardeners get 3 or even 4 cuts from a single sowing. If you are in a particularly hot climate this June, try tucking your greens container under a taller plant or somewhere that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. That small change can extend your harvest by weeks. There's something deeply satisfying about walking out before dinner, snipping a fresh bowl of greens, and putting them on the table 10 minutes later. Once you start growing your own, going back to store-bought just doesn't feel the same. Number 3. Zucchini, the vegetable that gardeners either love to brag about or desperately try to give away by the bagful to their neighbors come August. And if you plant it this June, you will very likely find yourself doing both. Zucchini is one of the most rewarding things you can grow in a summer garden. It is vigorous, it is productive, and it genuinely seems to enjoy growing. Give it the right conditions and it will outperform almost anything else in your garden bed. June is actually an ideal month to plant zucchini. The soil is warm, the nights are not cold anymore, and this plant is going to have the entire summer to do what it does best: produce. You can direct sow seeds right into the garden or transplant starts if you want to get a jump on things. Plant seeds about 1 inch deep in hills or rows with about 18 to 24 inches between plants. Zucchini likes to spread out. This is a full sun crop, no shade gardening here. It needs 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight and rich, moisture-retentive soil. Work in a generous amount of compost before planting, and your plants will reward you handsomely. Water deeply, but not too frequently. Let the soil dry out slightly between waterings to avoid root issues. Now, let us talk about pollination, because this is where a lot of gardeners get confused. Zucchini produces both male and female flowers on the same plant. The female flowers have a tiny zucchini forming at their base. The male flowers appear first. Their job is simply to produce pollen. If you see flowers dropping without producing fruit, do not panic. It just means the pollinators haven't visited yet. You can even do it yourself with a small paintbrush. Dab it in the male flower, then transfer the pollen to the center of a female flower. Works like a charm. Harvest your zucchini when they are 6 to 8 inches long. Any bigger and they get watery and seedy. Though if one does escape your notice and turns into a baseball bat overnight, do not throw it away. Use it for zucchini bread. It is genuinely delicious. The thing people don't realize about zucchini is how versatile it is in the kitchen. Grilled, roasted, spiralized, stuffed, baked into bread, this vegetable earns its place. Number 4. Butternut squash. Here's a vegetable that rewards patience, and June is exactly the right time to plant it. Butternut squash is one of the most beloved vegetables in the American kitchen, and growing your own is a completely different experience from anything you will find at a supermarket. Butternut squash needs a long growing season, typically 75 to 100 days to maturity. That is precisely why June planting is so important. Plant now, and you will be harvesting gorgeous golden butternut squash right as autumn arrives. Wait much longer, and you risk getting caught by the first frost before those squash have had a chance to fully ripen. Direct sow your seeds about 1 inch deep, in groups of 3. Gardeners call these hills, spacing each hill about 3 feet apart. Once the seedlings emerge and get a couple of inches tall, thin down to the 2 strongest plants per hill. It feels a bit cruel to pull those little seedlings, but trust the process. Your remaining plants will be much more vigorous for it. It needs at least 6 hours of direct sun daily and deep, fertile soil. Before planting, dig in plenty of compost or aged manure. This plant is a heavy feeder, and it will appreciate every bit of organic matter you can give it. One of the joys of butternut squash is what happens after harvest. Unlike a lot of summer vegetables that you have to eat right away, butternut actually improves with a little curing. Once you harvest in the fall, leave your squash in a warm, dry spot for about 10 to 14 days. The skin hardens, the flavors deepen, and a properly cured butternut squash can keep in your pantry for 3 to 6 months. That is homegrown food stretching well into winter, and there is something truly wonderful about that. Roasted butternut soup on a cold November evening, made with squash you grew yourself from a seed planted back in June? There is really nothing better. Number 5. Sugar pie pumpkin. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Pumpkins in June? Is that not a fall thing? And yes, absolutely, you harvest them in fall, but they need that whole long summer to grow. And June is truly the sweet spot for getting them into the ground. Sugar pie is not your typical carving pumpkin. These are small, deep orange, densely flavored pumpkins grown specifically for eating, and they are extraordinary. The flesh is thick, smooth, sweet, and far less stringy than large pumpkins. They typically weigh in around 4 to 8 pounds, which makes them perfect for cooking. One pumpkin gives you enough puree for 2 pies, a batch of muffins, and still some left over for a pot of soup. Plant your seeds about an inch deep in hills of 2 to 3 seeds, spacing hills 4 feet apart. Once seedlings are up and growing well, thin to 1 or 2 plants per hill. Like all squash family plants, sugar pie needs full sun, rich soil, and consistent moisture. Here is a wonderful tip for the home baker. Making your own pumpkin puree from a sugar pie pumpkin is shockingly simple. Have it, scoop out the seeds, place it face down on a baking sheet, and roast at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes until the flesh is completely tender. Scoop it out, blend it smooth, and you have fresh pumpkin puree that makes canned pumpkin taste like a distant memory. There is also something deeply seasonal and joyful about growing your own pumpkins. If you have grandchildren or young visitors, watching those fat orange globes swell and ripen through the summer is genuinely magical. By October, you will both have a decoration and a pantry staple, grown right in your own backyard. Number 6. Green beans. If there is one vegetable that says summer garden to me, it is green beans. And June is the perfect time to get them in the ground. Green beans are wonderfully straightforward to grow. They are not fussy, they do not need babying, and they produce abundantly. For beginning gardeners and experienced ones alike, they are just one of those dependable crops you can count on. There are 2 main types to choose from: bush beans and pole beans. Bush beans are compact, grow about 18 to 24 inches tall, and do not need any support. They tend to produce all at once, which is great if you want a big harvest for canning or freezing. Pole beans, on the other hand, climb. Give them a trellis or some stakes, and they'll reach 5 to 6 feet tall. They produce over a longer season, which means fresh beans coming in week after week throughout summer. For June planting, both types work beautifully. Sow seeds directly into the ground about 1 inch deep and 3 to 4 inches apart. Do not start them indoors. Green beans really prefer to be direct sown, and they germinate quickly in warm soil, often in just 5 to 8 days. Here's one important rule with green beans: do not overwater early on. Too much moisture before they're established can cause seeds to rot in the ground. Water when the soil is dry an inch down, and you'll be in good shape. Once plants are growing strongly, they appreciate consistent moisture, especially when pods are forming. Harvest your beans when pods are about 4 to 6 inches long and still feel firm and snappy. Don't wait for them to get big and bulgy. The seeds inside will become tough and the flavor goes downhill fast. Like okra, the more you pick, the more the plant produces. Homegrown green beans are just a completely different thing from what comes in a can. Number 7. Tomatillo. Now here is one that might be new territory for some, and I absolutely love introducing it to gardeners who have never grown it before. We are talking about the tomatillo. If you have ever made salsa verde or green enchiladas, you have used tomatillos. They look a little like small green tomatoes wrapped in a papery, lantern-shaped husk, and they have this tart, citrusy, earthy flavor that is completely unlike anything else in the garden. Once you grow your own, you will never want to pay $3 for 2 at the grocery store again. Tomatillos need a long, warm season, about 70 to 80 days to maturity. June is the last comfortable window to get them planted and still enjoy a proper harvest before the first frosts arrive. In warmer parts of the country, the South, the Southwest, or California, you may have a little more wiggle room, but anywhere with shorter summers, get those plants in the ground now. Plant tomatillos in full sun with well-drained, fertile soil. They grow into large, sprawling plants, sometimes 3 to 4 feet tall and equally wide, so give them some room. They do appreciate a cage or a stake to keep them off the ground. Here is the most important thing about growing tomatillos. You need at least 2 plants. They do not self-pollinate reliably. Plant 1 tomatillo, and it will flower beautifully and then produce almost nothing. Plant 2 or more, and suddenly those husks fill up with fruit. It's one of the most common tomatillo mistakes, and now you know to avoid it. Harvest time is a little counterintuitive. Do not go by color, go by the husk. When the papery husk splits open and the fruit inside has filled it out completely, it is ready. Give it a gentle squeeze. It should feel firm but not hard. Pull the husk back, and there it is, your tomatillo, ready to be roasted, blended, and turned into the most incredible homemade salsa verde you have ever tasted. Number 8. Delicata squash. Here is a squash that has been quietly winning over gardeners and home cooks for the last several years, and once you grow it yourself, you will understand exactly why. This is delicata squash, and it is a genuine joy to grow in June. Delicata is a winter squash, which means it stores beautifully after harvest. But unlike butternut or acorn, delicata has one very special quality that cooks absolutely love. You do not have to peel it. The skin is thin enough to eat, which makes preparation so much quicker and easier. Just have it, scoop out the seeds, season it, and roast it. Done. For anyone who has ever wrestled with a hard-skinned butternut, delicata is a genuine revelation. The flavor is sweet, rich, and a little nutty, often compared to sweet potato, which makes it incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Roast it with a little maple syrup and cinnamon, and it is practically dessert. Stuff it with grains and cheese, and it becomes a stunning dinner. Plant delicata in June by direct sowing seeds about an inch deep in hills of 2 to 3 seeds spaced 3 feet apart. Full sun is essential, and soil should be well amended with compost. Once plants are established, thin to the strongest plant or 2 per hill. Delicata does not need as much space as some other squash varieties. It tends to be more compact and can even be trained up a trellis if you are short on horizontal space. Just make sure to support the developing fruit. A piece of old nylon stocking or mesh bag tied to the trellis works perfectly as a little hammock for each squash. It's one of those charming little garden tricks that just makes you feel like a proper gardener. Harvest when the skin is cream-colored with green stripes and the squash feels firm all the way through, typically about 100 days after planting. Cure it in a warm room for a week or 2, and it will keep for several months. Number 9. Sweet potatoes. The crop we have saved for the last. If you have never grown sweet potatoes before, June is your window, and this might just become your new favorite thing to grow. Sweet potatoes are not grown from seeds. They are grown from slips, which are small rooted shoots that grow from a mature sweet potato. You can buy slips from a garden center this time of year, or you can easily make your own by placing a sweet potato halfway in water until it sprouts. But purchased slips are perfectly wonderful and much easier for most gardeners. Here's the thing about sweet potatoes. They love heat, they tolerate drought, and once they get going, they are incredibly low maintenance. They're actually one of the most forgiving crops you can grow. Plant your slips in full sun in well-drained soil that has been loosened deeply, at least 12 inches down. Sweet potatoes need room to grow underground, so compact or clay-heavy soil will limit your harvest significantly. Raised beds are excellent for sweet potatoes for exactly this reason. Plant slips about 12 to 18 inches apart in rows spaced 3 feet apart. Water them in well and keep the soil consistently moist for the first few weeks while they establish. After that, sweet potatoes are surprisingly drought-tolerant and actually do not need heavy watering. Too much water in late season can cause the roots to crack. The vines will spread and cover the ground beautifully. They're actually wonderful for suppressing weeds. Let them ramble. Do not try to contain them too much. Harvest time comes about 90 to 110 days after planting, typically in September or October, when the leaves start to yellow. Use a garden fork to carefully lift the roots. You'll be amazed by how many there are and how beautiful. Cure them for next 10 to 14 days in a warm, humid space, and they transform completely. The skin hardens, the starch converts to sugar, and the flavor deepens into that rich, sweet earthiness we all know and love. If this video was helpful to you, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up. It really does help more people find this channel. And if you want more tips on what to grow, how to grow it, and how to get the most out of every season in your garden, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a new video. I will see you in the next one.